What if the ancient Taoists and modern neuroscientists were pointing at the same human power, using different words? The Taoists called it Wu Wei, action without action, and neuroscientists call its brain signature, Transient Hypofrontality. It may be the mental state behind peak creativity, effortless performance, and deep satisfaction. Tonight we'll explore how these perspectives meet, what happens in the brain, and how to reliably invite microflow into your day. Welcome to Beyond the Mind. Imagine a master calligrapher moving the brush in a single, perfect sweep. There's no second-guessing, no inner critic trying to micromanage the stroke. The movement appears effortless. The result is precise. This lived sense of fluid, unforced performance is what ancient Taoists described as Wu Wei, a way of acting that feels like non-action because intention, skill, and situation align so perfectly that the effortful self simply recedes. In modern terms, we call that experience flow. What is flow? Flow is a psychological state defined by sustained, absorbed attention on a task that is matched to your skill level. In flow, you feel energized yet calm. Time often distorts. Performance feels effortless, and you receive immediate feedback about how well you're doing. Csikszentmihalyi, who coined and extensively studied the concept, identified core conditions: a balance between challenge and skill, clear goals, and immediate feedback. Flow is not mere distraction. It's deep engagement where the sense of a separate self fades and action becomes seamless with awareness. Wu Wei, a philosophical frame for effortless action. Wu Wei literally means non-doing or actionless action. In Taoist texts, it points to aligning with the natural unfolding of events so that activity arises spontaneously and efficiently. It isn't passivity. On the contrary, Wu Wei describes a highly adaptive responsiveness born of training and attunement. The Taoist sage is not detached from life. They are so skilled, so synchronized with the flow of circumstances, that their actions are both effortless and effective. Framed this way, Wu Wei is an ethical and embodied practice aimed at harmony, not merely peak performance. What the brain does during flow. Transient hypofrontality. Neuroscientists describe a physiological pattern that maps well onto the phenomenology of flow, a temporary downregulation of certain frontal brain regions involved in self-monitoring, error checking, and top-down control. This idea, transient hypofrontality, was proposed to explain how the brain reduces internal interruptions that would otherwise break immersion. In flow, parts of the prefrontal cortex, the dorsolateral and medial areas that support reflective self-evaluation and inner chatter, show decreased activity. At the same time, sensory, motor, and task-specific networks remain highly engaged. The result is a brain state optimized for uninterrupted performance. Less inner critic, more doer. Neurobiology, a few key mechanisms. Several neural mechanisms are implicated in flow. Reduced prefrontal activity. Less executive monitoring means fewer interruptions from the inner critic. This helps explain the felt sense of effortlessness and immediacy. Efficient sensoromotor coupling. Task-relevant networks, visual, motor, auditory, depending on the task, operate with high coherence, allowing smooth perception action loops. Neuromodulators, dopamine and noradrenaline, norepinephrine, appear to shape motivation, attention, and the reward value of the activity. Dopamine supports focused motivation and learning. Noradrenergic tone helps with sustained attention and alertness. The precise neurochemical profile varies by task and individual. Time perception changes. Subjective time distortion in flow likely arises from altered interactions between attention networks and temporal processing circuits in the brain. Why this state helps creativity and performance. Flow creates optimal conditions for skill expression and learning. With reduced self-monitoring, actions become more fluid. With immediate feedback, you can adapt in real time. And with heightened absorption, complex patterns and remote associations become salient. fueling creativity. For athletes or performers, flow sharpens timing and coordination. For writers, coders, or designers, it can enable long runs of productive, generative work where novel combinations emerge naturally. Core conditions and triggers you can use. Csikszentmihalyi's research identifies repeatable conditions that reliably trigger flow. These are practical levers you can design into your work. Challenge skill balance. Choose tasks that are neither boring, too easy, nor overwhelming, too hard. Slightly stretch your skills. That friction is the engine of flow. Clear goals. Make the next step explicit. Flow thrives when you know what you're aiming for. Not vague aims, but precise short-term goals. Immediate feedback. Design a task where you receive quick feedback. In music, notes tell you instantly if you're on pitch. In coding, unit tests or small runs provide feedback. If your task lacks natural feedback, create it. Focused attention and minimal distractions. Flow needs sustained, uninterrupted concentration. Remove notifications, silence messages, and create a clear window of time. Deep practice and automaticity. Repetition builds the skill set that makes action automatic. The more procedural memory supports a task, the less conscious control required, which helps the prefrontal cortex step back. Intrinsic motivation. Flow occurs more easily when the activity itself is rewarding. Try to find an angle of curiosity or meaning in the work. A short micro-practice. 5-minute single-tasking to enter microflow. This guided micro-practice is designed to produce a brief flow-like state you can use as a daily reset or warm-up. Find a quiet 5-minute block. Choose a single, bounded microtask, e.g., compose a single paragraph, draw a quick shape, solve one simple coding challenge, practice one musical phrase. Set a clear micro-goal. Write one focused paragraph about X, or play and perfect this 2-bar phrase. Prepare the space. Silence phone. Close unrelated tabs. Remove visual clutter. Start a simple rhythmic anchor. Breathe in for 4 counts, out for 6, 3 times to settle attention. Begin the microtask, fully committing to it for 5 minutes. If the mind wanders, gently return focus to the immediate sensation of the task. Your fingers on keys, your breath, the sound of the pen. If you notice self-criticism, label it briefly, thinking, and return to the action. Do not try to analyze. Aim to be in the doing. When 5 minutes end, take a slow breath and note one observation. Was time distorted? Did the task feel easier? Record a one-line note. Use this micro-practice as a warm-up before longer blocks. Over weeks, those 5-minute windows can extend into deeper sessions, structuring workdays for longer flow sessions. Flow isn't an on-demand wand. It requires scaffolding. Here are studio-tested practices to make longer flow sessions more likely. Block deep time. Reserve 60 to 120-minute blocks for focused work. Flow often requires at least 20 to 30 minutes to stabilize. Deeper states may come later. Protect this time from interruptions. Align task difficulty with skill. If a task is too easy, add constraints, reduce time, increase precision to raise the challenge. If too hard, break it into smaller subtasks to create a chain of achievable goals. Ritualize entry. Develop a pre-flow ritual, a brief physical cue, lighting a candle, making a specific tea, a short breathing sequence that signals the brain it's time to enter concentrated work. Use ultradian rhythms. Our bodies tend to cycle through 90-minute peaks. Try scheduling deep work in the first 90-minute peak after you're most alert. Create immediate feedback channels. Break tasks into micro-tests or live previews so you see the effect of your actions quickly. Train skill deliberately. Flow is more accessible when you have the skill foundations. Deliberate practice, focused, feedback-rich, and challenging, is the path to deeper, more reliable flow. A 7-day starter plan to cultivate flow. Day 1. Identify 3 tasks where you'd like more flow. Do a 5-minute single tasking session for each and record notes. Day 2. Create a distraction-free workspace. Use one 60-minute block session with a clear goal. Apply the micro-practice as a warm-up. Day 3. Increase challenge slightly for one task, tighten time limit or add precision. Record subjective experience. Day 4. Introduce a brief ritual before deep work, 2 to 3 breaths plus clear intention. Try a second 60 to 90-minute block. Day 5. Add immediate feedback mechanics, test, preview, or measure. Note how feedback affects engagement. Day 6. Practice deliberate skill training for 30 minutes on a sub-skill of your main task. Day 7. Review notes. Identify what triggers work best and commit to repeating the most reliable sequence for 2 weeks. Troubleshooting. Why flow can be elusive and what to do. Too many interruptions. If you can't protect uninterrupted time, create micro windows again and scaffold from there. Over time, you can train others to respect your deep time blocks. Anxiety or over-arousal. High stress can prevent the calm engagement needed. Use brief grounding, slow breathing, a short walk, or reduce ambient stimulation until arousal settles. Boredom. If the task is too easy, raise challenge by adding constraints, speed, accuracy, or link it to a meaningful larger goal. Perfectionism and rumination. Perfectionist monitoring keeps the prefrontal cortex overactive. Counter this by focusing on process goals rather than judgmental outcomes. Remind yourself that iteration, not finality, is the aim. Safety and ethical considerations. Flow is powerful and rewarding, and that reward can become addictive if it's used to avoid necessary but unpleasant responsibilities. Be mindful of balance. Don't use flow as an escape from interpersonal obligations or emotional processing. Burnout risk. Intense, repeated deep work without recovery can lead to exhaustion. Schedule rest, social connection, and varied activity. Ethical alignment. Optimize for activities that contribute to your values. Flow in harmful tasks is still flow, but not beneficial in the long run. Examples across domains. How flow looks in practice. Athlete. Fluid movement, split-second adjustments, time slowing down for better timing. Musician. Sustained improvisational runs where technique and expression fuse. Programmer. Immersed coding where bugs are solved intuitively and ideas emerge. Researcher/writer. Sudden coherence where disparate references integrate into a clear argument. Micro-practice script you can use before any deep session. Spoken. 30, 60 seconds. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths in through the nose, long out through the mouth. Breathe in calm. Breathe out tension. Now state your micro goal out loud. One clear, simple step you will complete in this session. Visualize doing the first action. When you're ready, open your eyes and begin. If thoughts arise, label them, thinking, and gently return to the task. Keep curiosity as your guide. How to measure progress. Keep a simple log. Task duration, quality of immersion, scale 1 to 5. And one observation, time distortion, loss of self-consciousness, quality of output. Over weeks, look for increases in immersion scores and sustained duration. Final reflections, integrating Wu Wei and modern flow practice. Wu Wei offers a moral and attitudinal frame. Train yourself, cultivate calm responsiveness, act with humility and alignment. Modern science gives practical levers and explanations. Challenge skill balance, attention management, and neurobiology. Use both. Train skill deliberately. Set the stage for flow with rituals and structures, and carry insights about effortless action into your relationships and choices. The aim isn't simply performance. It's a more graceful, present way of living where action and awareness move together. If you found this useful, subscribe to Beyond the Mind for more episodes that blend ancient wisdom with contemporary science. Like the video if you learned something new, and tell us in the comments, what task will you try the 5-minute single tasking practice on? If you want a one-page checklist or a downloadable pre-session ritual audio, say flow checklist in the comments and I'll prepare it. Bibliography, quick sources to verify key claims. Csikszentmihalyi, M. 1990. Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. Harper and Row, Foundational Research and Core Components of Flow. Nakamura, J. and Csikszentmihalyi, M. 2002. The Concept of Flow, in Snyder Lopez eds. Handbook of Positive Psychology. Summary of Flow Research. Dietrich, A. 2003. Functional Neuroanatomy of Altered States of Consciousness. The Transient Hypofrontality Hypothesis. In Consciousness and Cognition. Brain, Behavior, and Cognition Reviews. Theory connecting reduced prefrontal activity to flow and altered states. Ulrich M. Keller J. Honig K. Waller C. and Grand G. 2014. Neural correlates of experimentally induced flow experiences. Social cognitive and affective neuroscience. Neuroimaging evidence on flow. Keller J. Bless H. Lohman F. and Kleinbohl D. 2011. Physiological aspects of flow. Converging evidence and practical implications. Studies on physiological markers of flow. Newport C. 2016. Deep Work, Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. Grand Central Publishing, Practical Methods for Protecting Deep Time and Reducing Distractions. Practice this week. 3 daily 5-minute single tasking sessions. 1 60-minute protected deep block with your pre-session ritual, and a 1-line journal entry after each session. See what shifts after 7 days. Move with care, train with patience, and let skill meet challenge. Sweet, effortless practice.